The Gardener and the White Elephants by Richard Hughes. There was once a gardener who had to look after such a big garden that he had to get up at 1 in the morning and didn't get to bed until 12 at night. In fact, he only got 1 hour's sleep each night. And working so hard made him get thin and old and rheumatic-y and lame long before he should. One day, he planted out a beautiful bed of sweet peas, but when he came in the morning, something had been and eaten them up.
"Slugs,"
said the gardener. And when he planted out a fresh bed, he made slug traps out of orange peel and set them along the sweet peas. But when he came in the morning, the sweet peas were all eaten up, but the slug traps weren't touched.
"Then it isn't slugs,"
he said.
"I wonder what it is. There's only one thing to do. Tonight, I must miss my only hour of sleep and sit up and watch."
So at 12 o'clock, he went and sat by the sweet pea bed to watch. And he got sleepier and sleepier till at last, when it was just 1:45, he couldn't keep awake and fell fast asleep. And when he woke up, all the sweet peas had been eaten again.
Oh, not again.
So the next night he went to watch again, and this time took with him his fountain pen. And each time he was just going to fall asleep, he gave himself a jab with the nib and woke himself up again. And at 5-1, what should he see but a very old rabbit, so old that its fur was all coming off, and its whiskers had turned white, and it hobbled as much as he did. But although it was so old, in a twinkling of an eye it had gobbled up all the sweet peas and was hobbling away.
Good.
Then the gardener got up and tried to chase it. But though the rabbit limped, he limped too. And though they both went so slowly, he couldn't quite catch it. But they hobbled and hobbled till they reached the rose garden. And when they got there, the rabbit nibbled a rose leaf. And no sooner did it do that than all of a sudden it became a gay young rabbit again and galloped away at ever such a pace, while the poor gardener was left rubbing his eyes.
"Well, well,"
he said.
"Well, well, well."
So the third night he went to watch again. And again he kept awake by jabbing himself with his fountain pen.
Ow!
And again
Ow!
the rabbit came, old now as it had been before it ate the rose leaf. It gobbled up the little sweet pea seedlings, and the gardener chased it. But though he went as fast as he could, it was still ahead of him when they got to the rose garden. Then the rabbit nibbled a rose leaf, and quick as lightning it was galloping away. But this time the gardener ate a rose leaf too, and in a moment he was turning into a strong young man, and chased the rabbit as fast as ever he could. This time the rabbit couldn't quite get away, but it was still ahead when it reached its hole. The rabbit dived into the hole, and the gardener dived in after it. And the rabbit burrowed, and the gardener burrowed, but still he couldn't quite catch it, nor the rabbit quite get away. No, not though it dug like mad. Then, all of a sudden, the rabbit dug its way through into a great black pit, and the gardener, following close behind, suddenly found himself falling head over heels. But he didn't have far to fall. Only, when he sat up, the rabbit was nowhere to be seen. It was quite dark, but all the same he could just make out some huge white shapes. So he struck a match to see what it was, and found he was among 20 or 30 white elephants, all sleeping on the ground. Then one of them woke up and asked him who he was and what he was doing.
"I came in chasing that rabbit,"
said the gardener. The white elephant looked most shocked.
"What?"
he said.
"You were chasing our terrible lord and master, the rabbit whom none dares disobey?"
"Indeed I was,"
said the gardener.
"But do you mean to say all you great white elephants are the slaves of one silly old rabbit?"
"Of course we are,"
said the white elephant.
"And you do what he tells you?"
asked the gardener.
"Of course we do."
"But supposing you didn't,"
said the gardener.
"what would happen?"
"I don't know. No one has ever dared to try."
"Then try,"
said the gardener.
"Nothing will happen. Do something disobedient and see."
"But what is there disobedient we can do?"
said the white elephant.
"Is there a way out of this cave?"
asked the gardener.
"Yes, there is. But the terrible rabbit has told us not to go out."
"Then come out. Show me the way, and we will all go out together."
So the first white elephant woke up the others and explained the idea to them. Then they all began to go up the tunnel that led out of the cave together. But they hadn't gone far when they found the rabbit blocking their way.
"Go back,"
said the rabbit, and all the elephants were ready to turn round and do what they were told. But the gardener called out,
"I'm not afraid of you. You're only a silly old rabbit."
"Oh, I am I?
said the rabbit in a most wicked voice. And before their eyes, he began to swell and grow, and his teeth grew sharp as a tiger's, and his eyes flashed fire. Then he sprang at the first elephant with a savage growl and plunged his teeth into its trunk.
That's what comes of disobeying me!
He said, but the gardener was not afraid. And big and fierce though the rabbit had become, he sprang at it and seized it by the throat. And then began the most terrible fight between the gardener and the rabbit. Sometimes the gardener got the best and held the rabbit down on the ground. And sometimes the rabbit got the best and tried to bite the gardener's throat. But at last, the gardener won and managed to strangle the rabbit till it was quite dead. And then the other white elephants marched up the tunnel till they reached the open air.
Now, will you be my white elephants?
Asked the gardener.
We will. Of course we will.
Sang the white elephants all together. Now that he had all these white elephants, the gardener, of course, was rich and didn't have to work in the garden anymore. Instead, he had a small but comfortable house for himself and a perfectly enormous stable for all the white elephants. And there they lived happily together forever after. And this was the strange thing, that though when the rabbit had eaten the rose leaf, it had only made him young for one night, when the gardener ate it, it made him young forever, so that he never grew old again at all. Narration and sound effects by Michael G Stanton.